Brilliant. Nice to meet you all. I'm Dylan Battick. I'm a consumer research manager at a company called CJ by Nielsen IQ. I'm joined by Lydia today, and we'll be speaking through exactly what it says on the board: hospitality trends and insights, what the data tells us about everything that Anthony was speaking through before. But before I dive into that, just a little bit about us, who we are. We're a market research and insights company that focuses specifically on the on-premise and the hospitality sector. We do that by combining what we call a 360-degree service, pulling in data from the sites, so outlet index, tracking the number of outlets in the market, seeing if that's positive or negative as an indicator for the overall market confidence. Sales, pulling in EPOS data from a sample of thousands of outlets to understand how sales are changing. Consumer sentiment, which is Libby's complete wheelhouse, focusing on the consumers, what they're saying about the on-premise, how they're interacting with it, their overall habits, and how that's impacting the why behind the what in the data above. And lastly, my area of focus, which is leader sentiment, speaking to a lot of the people in the room, understanding your confidence in the market, what challenges and opportunities are you focusing on facing, to make sure that we can understand that total 360-degree picture. And I'll be starting off by running through a bit of the proprietary data, encapsulating all of the above, to let you know what the state of the nation looks like, the overall on-premise landscape, and how that's evolving, and that'll inform the context that Libby will pick up from in terms of some specific research that we ran with Access, understanding technology and the specific issues and challenges that we need to be addressing. But starting off with that state of the nation piece, I think that it's no secret that times are hard at the moment. Looking at GB in Ireland, the outlet index, so the number of outlets declined quite significantly post-COVID. And whilst that decline is leveling off a bit, we're still facing a bit of churn in the market that we haven't recovered at all compared to the pre-COVID levels. When we look at the sales data, the narrative is pretty similar. Whilst the decline has slowed down, we're just seeing quite a flat relative market in terms of total sales. Again, the same story. Things are quite flat in the market at the moment. But I think looking at Ireland, there is cause for some positivity. So this is some consumer data where we ask consumers how frequently they visit the on-premise in Ireland. And we can see that actually over the same time period, up to 2024, there was quite a significant decline. But 2025, we're seeing quite an uptick. I can probably attribute it to perceptions of cost of living, whether that's actually empirical cost of living falling. But consumers are getting a bit more used to the shock of cost of living now. They're wanting to get back out into the on-premise. So it's quite positive, actually. And that sentiment is quite reflected by business leader confidence. So we spoke to a lot of the people that might be in this room and your peers about how confident you feel about the market and your own businesses. You can see that in 2025, we're actually seeing that uptick again. Confidence is starting to come back into the sector. It isn't as positive as the consumer data reflects, and I think a lot of that is what Anthony was speaking about. It's those underlying costs really putting squeeze on the sector. You can see here over the similar time period, coming into 2025, we've seen a bit of a shift. The shift in more operators reporting decreasing profit margins compared to those reporting increased profit. And that's a massive challenge that we try to dig into through our data. So we asked the people in the room exactly that. What are you targeting? What are you going to do to adapt to this? And really interestingly, the word I didn't expect to pop up was invest, and invest specifically in technology. So it's the number one area that operators are looking to invest more in to adapt to this increased cost and this increasingly difficult climate that we're facing in hospitality. When we ask why, we get some really colourful and detailed writings and qualitative input. People saying that technology is everywhere and it's everything right now. It really allows businesses to introspect, to understand what's going on and adapt. And it affords them the agility to actually target the right people, to understand what's going on real time and maximise any opportunities. And again, another topic that we'll dig into even further, like Anthony already suggested, is that resource point. It takes a lot of strain integrating multiple different systems, and it can be massively important if businesses can start using the tech more efficiently and more effectively. So this is where Access came in. They got in touch with us with exactly that hypothesis. They understood that tech is an investment that people are really targeting at the moment. And we wanted to, well, their hypothesis was they aren't making the most of their investment. And we asked the people in the room exactly that, and they agreed. So just under 1 in 4, or just over 1 in 4 business leaders that we spoke to said that they feel they're getting great value out of the tech investment. For the other 3 in 4, they feel like they could be making more of that increased investment. So that's where this research came in. We did some collaborative research with Access Group, and we'll be speaking through the results now. But it's some of the largest research of its kind, speaking to business leaders, key decision makers, tech, operators, all in the hospitality market, who are decision makers for technology across 9 different markets. It was a multi-methodology piece of research, so we pulled in qualitative interviews paired with 1,400 quantitative surveys. We compiled all of that market by market to understand what are the priorities for the people in this room in terms of tech investment and how can Access best address those priorities. For the purposes of today, we'll be focusing in on the UK and Ireland results. There's a lot of data on this board, so I'll just speak you through what we're looking at. In terms of the venue split that we spoke to, it was 50-50 between F&B and hotels, with the full breakdown on the right-hand side. The roles, the main thing that you need to take from it is essentially we only spoke to key decision makers for the tech usage in their venues. And then in terms of the regions, we've got around 60-40, 59-41 split of UK versus Republic of Ireland. So I'll pass over to Libby to speak through the challenges and some of the themes that were coming out from that.
Thanks, Dylan. So now we're going to get into the data, and the first thing we're going to explore is the importance of technology and how technology providers can help people like you. So firstly, we asked in our survey all about different operational challenges that people are experiencing in hospitality at the minute. And as you can see on this slide, it ranges from forecasting and revenue optimization, staff and operational efficiency, stock and inventory control, and guest management and experience. And I think the key thing to take from this slide is that there's a whole host of challenges that are experienced operationally in the hospitality sector. But if we delve into this further, we split this by looking at different business types. We looked at F&B versus hotels, and we even looked at small businesses versus large businesses. And if we can see on the right-hand side, just under hotels and small businesses, the highest over-indexing operational challenge for a small business in a hotel was recommending upgrades, amenities, or packages based on guest profiles. But as you can see, it is a lot of different challenges on this slide. So again, the key thing to take is different business types, depending on size, or whether the hotels or F&B are all experiencing different types of operational challenges. Therefore, what hospitality operators want from tech providers is to not just hand over this tech and that's it, we'll see you later. It's more having a partner, someone who's going to understand these unique business needs and these operational challenges and is going to work with the operators to help with the long-term planning as well and understand these hospitality operations and simply not just hand over the tech. And then when we delved into this further, asking in our qualitative interviews, we also found that operators want this partner, but what they also want from this partner is in one place. They want someone who's going to cater for that whole business, understand those needs, like I said before, and it be the overall package. So looking at these quotes, I think these sum up what we're trying to say quite nicely, that it's all, can we all get it in one place to ease the difficulties that we're experiencing.
Thanks, Libby. So yeah, we wanted to dig into the theme from those last 2 quotes in a bit more detail, and I think it's the theme that we'll be discussing throughout this whole day, is that whole integration point. We know that it's a huge resource drain working with multiple different systems providers, and as we know from the people in this room, it kind of reflects what we've got here. F&B venues typically work with around 4 different providers, whilst hotels typically use 5 different systems as well. We know that working with all these different providers it creates significant strain to the resource. I think this quote encapsulates it perfectly. We don't want our most valuable people in outlet wasting all of the time doing these basic transactional processes, integrating data, manually typing things up. We want them to be creating the guest experience. But as we can see, as the number of systems increases, it's just more and more time that they're going to be spending doing these more mundane tasks. And this is a problem that's only amplified by what we know that's happening in the market at the moment. There's a lot of staff churn, a lot of staff turnover, and we can't afford to be spending ages teaching every single new staff member 5 systems to learn, just for them to shift jobs and then teach the next staff member 5 new systems. It's a huge strain that's only amplified by the current market. So that means it's quite logical that 91% of the people we spoke to said that having an integrated system could help scale their business. Specifically hotels, actually 95% said that integrated solution can definitely help scale a business. In terms of the scaling, a lot of it is linked to the finance. So financially, as Anthony said, 99%, so almost every one that we spoke to, mentioned that unconnected systems are wasting time and costing them money. Overall, 13% of OPEX costs are being wasted currently through these processes, through staff having to manually integrate and use so many different systems. In terms of the benefits then, if we position a solution of one integrated system, they're quite logical, leaning into what we've discussed, those resource gains, specifically so hotels referencing, reducing those double entries, better visibility of performance. But I think what's quite interesting on that visibility performance side is the data aspect. So actually understanding your performance, accurately reporting. Because when we spoke to business leaders about the data, how confident they are in it, we saw that confidence was actually not that high. Typically, the main issues that they're facing relate to this poor system reliability, having scattered sources that they're all having to integrate, the time that takes, the human error that inevitably links into this as a result. So the solution is logical. It's the one integrated system. 1 in 5 KDMs that we spoke to referenced this as a game changer, 76% saying that it would be really, really valuable for themselves. So it's just really clear to see the demand and the need there for an integrated system. I think that links very well to the need for automation in that Libby's going to speak to more.
Thanks, Dylan. So yeah, our final section, we're going to talk about AI in hospitality. So in our survey, 99% of businesses surveyed wanted to automate their processes to support with these challenges that we've discussed throughout this presentation. But within that, the specific things that they wanted to prioritize to automate centered around customer service and bookings, and then inventory management and ordering. And as you can see, it's even slightly higher for hotels for customer service and bookings. But you're probably thinking, yes, we're on about automation here, but where does AI come into this? So we asked operators, looking ahead to next year, how do you think AI could help with these operations? And the main thing to come out was about improving efficiencies, and also by streaming bookings, and then in third place, helping with routine tasks and reporting. But I think from this slide, we can see that there's not just 3 listed, we've got 8, so it does show there's lots of different areas that operators believe AI can help with these transactional loads. But then looking at consumers and what they thought, similarly, they also thought that faster booking and order payment processing is a #1 priority for AI. So these similar themes are coming out from both operators and consumers, where they think AI could be beneficial to the hospitality sector. Going into this further, businesses also expected that they could save 18% on average of operational costs by implementing AI. But you're probably thinking, where specifically is AI placed? So the main expectation that came out was about better decision-making for improved data insights. So one of the quotes at the top here says, like, AI would make it easier for hotels to compare other hotels and look at other trends that are going in and to get improved data, but quite fast. Whereas also if we look at the second point in the table with improved customer experience and service quality, this theme of guest experience and customer experience that we've talked through today, all about giving this example on the right about guests check-in and checking out. How can we make that experience easier so that you can prioritize guest experience in other elements of your job and make those mundane tasks that are done every day much easier. However, on the flip side, we can see on this slide, and you're probably all feeling the same, in general with AI, it's still in this very early unknown area, isn't it? So people we've got to be cautious, and they're not sure, what does this mean for our data and our privacy and things like that, and you're probably all thinking the same. So it's got to make sure that providers can guarantee this data security so you're willing to have it within your hospitality business. Consumers, again, are also feeling the same. It's an uncertain time with AI, so that they are concerned. However, I think it's important to note on this slide, I found it interesting that consumers actually do care that you might lose jobs for hospitality workers, or that the loss of human connection is a risk if we implement AI. So we propose that AI needs to be positioned as something that can support your guest experience, not take over that human interaction and get rid of it completely. It's about working with AI and this whole theme of working together so that this is a partner to help out and ease that load rather than taking over everything and losing that, like I said, the guest experience that the hospitality sector is so good at. But how can technology providers ensure that this doesn't happen? Well, it's all about working with the technology provider and the business to make sure that they have training and support with this AI being implemented, how it's an assistance with integration. But if we also look at the pink bar as well, how I mentioned before, how all these different types of businesses varying by size, or whether you're a hotel and F&B, it's about having these customized, tailored solutions specific to you that are going to work to you rather than generic ones. And if AI is a successful integration within your business, it is a benefit for consumers as well, because consumers would be willing to pay an extra 8 to 10% for an AI-enhanced service in hospitality. So if it's done right, we can still make sure that we get this good guest experience, but it also has benefits with guests willing to pay an extra 8 to 10% on their experience. So I'll finally pass over to Dylan for the last time, just to summarise everything that we've discussed today.
Great. Yeah, some really interesting insights there in terms of AI, its potential use cases. I think it's really interesting to see what Libby's touched on as well, around it not replacing that guest experience, it not taking over. I think we've all been in the place where we've been on the phone to a chatbot when we're just wanting to speak to a real person. So I think that it's really about supporting rather than replacing. I think that's something that Access will do very well. In terms of what we learned from the overall presentation, we know that the market is quite flat at the moment, to be honest, in terms of performance, in terms of outlets and sales. And the cost pressures that are creeping up are really causing a bit of a squeeze on overall profits and causing a need for efficiency. Operators are seeing tech as the throughput to that efficiency. They're looking at tech to be a way to offload some of that resource that's spent integrating different outputs and switching between different systems. And it's something that Access Group can really step in to support. The challenge of staff churn only amplifies that pressure as well. In terms of AI, there are concerns around data security. I think a lot of the people in this room might be bought into AI, but it's also about convincing the board. It's also about convincing other stakeholders as well. So it's about an education piece that's really important to help everyone have the tools to implement this in their own businesses, because we know that it can help, but it's about convincing others it can help as well. But as with all technology, the partnership is key. And everyone here will like the idea of AI, they'll like the idea of integrated systems, but you need support in terms of actually how do we implement this and make it work for our business, with our unique challenges, with our unique opportunities. And hospitality will always be about human interaction, so it's about striking that perfect balance. We don't want to take away from this that AI is the solution, get rid of all of the staff. Staff are going to be really important. AI is going to help them deliver the best they can.